Beneath the neon glare, surrounded by sweaty bodies and screams drowned in music, came the shatter of glass, but it wasn't a bottle that broke. It was a life. His wife, her ex, friends turned traitors, all fused into a single nightmare you don't wake up from. Kisses in the club that cut deeper than any blade, a crowd cheering for his humiliation. And then, the belt, the blows, the bouncers, the cameras. Not a movie, reality, where the hero becomes the executioner. But hell was only beginning. When everything that was us turns to ash, only one thing remains: war. For his name, for his honor, to make sure they never forget who they betrayed. But the worst was still to come. A knock at the door, and on the threshold, her, with a child, and a new kind of hell, one that doesn't scream or threaten. It simply breathes quietly in her arms. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watched this video. I value every one of your comments, so let's get started. I was knee-deep in quarterly figures, drowning in spreadsheets, when my phone vibrated beside my laptop. I glanced over. Kevin. That was unusual. He wasn't the calling type. Normally, he sent short texts. A call meant something serious, too serious to leave a digital trail. The moment I picked up, the strain in his voice hit me like a punch. Adrian. Man, you're gonna want to sit down, he said, his voice unsteady. Though I was already seated, my heart skipped at his tone. What is it, Kevin? Just tell me. There was a pause. He sounded like he was searching for the least painful way to say it. You know I hate being the one to drop this kind of thing, but it's Jenna. She's out right now, at a club. And you're not going to like what I'm seeing. For a fleeting moment, I tried to tell myself it wasn't a big deal. Maybe she just needed to unwind, dance, feel human again. But then Kevin's voice dropped to a whisper. She's with someone. All over him. And it's not just anyone. It's Zane. Yeah, that Zane. Time stopped. They're kissing, man. She's got her hands on him. It's not innocent. She's groping him like they're alone. A knot formed in my chest. Zane. Her college ex. The one who shattered her. The one she claimed never to forgive. I gripped the phone tighter. Are you absolutely sure it's him? In public? Dead sure, Kevin replied instantly. Preston's here too. So is Laura. They're not stopping her. They're laughing. Like it's a show. Like you don't exist. I felt the floor vanish beneath me. My wife, wrapped around the man who once ghosted her, and my friends cheering her on like it was reality TV. Unreal. But Kevin wasn't someone who made things up. He continued before I could speak again. I'm sending you the location now. It's called the Crystal Globe. I wish I didn't have to be the one to tell you. The address flashed on my screen. Everything after that was a blur. I yanked on my coat, jumped in the car, and drove like I was chasing a ghost. Red lights and speed limits were meaningless. I was ablaze with fury, blinding, pure rage. Preston, Laura. They'd eaten at our table, toasted our anniversaries, claimed they had Jenna's back whenever I couldn't. Now they were watching her betray me like it was some joke? I screeched to a stop outside the Crystal Globe, barely parked before launching out. Neon lights blinked above me, mocking. Music pounded through the walls, syncing with my pulse. A bouncer gave me a once-over, but Kevin was already at the entrance, motioning me in. They're over by the bar, he said, nodding toward the crowd. I pushed forward, fighting through a haze of sweat, flashing lights, spilled drinks, and cheap perfume. And then I saw them, Jenna and Zane, clinging to each other like no time had passed, her hand still tucked obscenely into his pocket. Her face was flushed, drunk, aroused, unrecognizable. They kissed like they were in their own world. His hands moved down her back like it was routine. She leaned in again, lips parting, and they just kept going. It felt like something cracked open inside me. I could barely breathe. Nearby, Preston nursed a drink, grinning like he was at a comedy show. Lara sat perched like an eager spectator, eyes locked on Jenna. I shoved past a few couples, heart pounding, and came to a halt just a few feet away. Jenna looked up and saw me. She didn't flinch, didn't startle. She simply eased back from Zane as if I'd caught her in the middle of some mundane errand. She smiled. Her lipstick was smeared, glinting under the colored lights. "Oh, hey, Adrian," she said, breezy, indifferent. I raised a hand, cutting her off before she could continue. "Don't. Just don't," I said, voice eerily calm compared to the storm inside. She withdrew her hand from Zane's pocket with the lazy ease of someone setting down a glass of water. "So, I guess the cat's out of the bag," she said with a shrug. My throat went dry, brittle. "You asked for a divorce?" I repeated slowly. She gave a small nod. No apology, no shame. "I was planning to tell you. I just thought, you should see Zane again. I'm in love with him. I can't fake things with you anymore." Then she actually chuckled, light, almost relieved. Preston said. That's when Preston stepped forward, the smirk on his face turning razor sharp. "Don't pin this on me," Preston said sharply. "You've been blind to what Jenna really needs for months now." I didn't let him finish. Reflex took over. My hand shot out, grabbed his shirt and shoved him hard. His drink spilled as he stumbled back, off balance. A chorus of shocked gasps spread through the bar. The music kept pounding, but suddenly the atmosphere was tight, electric with tension. "You want to talk about who's been neglectful?" I snarled. "You stood in my living room pretending to be a friend." I leaned in, my voice low and trembling with restrained rage. "And now you're the one encouraging her to run off with her ex? You're a damn snake." Lara jumped off her bar stool. "Preston, get out of the way," she hissed, her eyes darting between us. She shot me a glare sharp enough to cut glass, as if she could rein me in with a single look. "Wake up, Adrian," she snapped. "You've been smothering her for too long. No wonder she found someone else. That did it." I turned toward Jenna, blocking out everything else. "How long?" I demanded, my voice tight, strained with fury I barely kept in check. Jenna's lips pressed into a thin line, not out of guilt, but annoyance. 3 months, she said flatly, her tone void of apology. "I reconnected with Zane when he came back," she said, as if it were routine. "I was going to break it to you gently." "Gentle?" I exploded. "You call making out with him in front of a crowd gentle?" Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Zane approach. Broad shoulders, smug expression, oozing overconfidence. "She's over you," he said coolly. "You don't get to control her anymore." I closed the distance in a flash, grabbing the collar of his sleek shirt. "You think I'm threatening you?" I hissed. "This is your one and only warning. Stay away." He hesitated, his bravado faltering, but pride took the reins. "Touch me again, and you'll regret it," he muttered. Wrong move. I slammed him against the bar. His side collided with the edge, and he let out a grunt of pain. Screams echoed around us. As he struggled to recover, I pinned him, driving my forearm into the back of his head, grinding it against the sticky counter. The bartender jerked back, startled. The music thudded on, but I could hear someone, probably Lara, screaming for security. My mind was ice cold, my rage focused. I reached for my belt with one hand. Zane squirmed, but I had him. With one fierce tug, I ripped the belt loose, twisted his arm, and cracked it across his back. He howled. That sound only fed the fire inside me. I lashed out again. Gasps filled the room. Some were horrified, others couldn't look away. Then Jenna's voice broke through the noise, high-pitched, frantic. "Adrian, stop!" Preston lunged toward me, grabbing my shoulder. I spun, shoved him aside. He hit the ground, swearing. Then the bouncers arrived. One wrapped an arm around my torso, the other tried to wrestle my arm away from Zane. I managed one last strike with the belt, loud, sharp, final, before they dragged me off. My chest was heaving. All eyes in the club were locked on us. Phones pointed our way, recording every second. Lights strobed across the bartender's pale, frozen face. "That's it," one of the bouncers growled, his breath hot against my ear. "You're finished." I didn't resist. Zane slowly straightened, red-faced and trembling. He rubbed the rising welt on his cheek. He stared at me, stunned and furious. "You're a lunatic," he spat. I laughed, a cold, empty sound. "Go ahead, call the police. I'll sue you for alienation of affection. I'll drag your name through the courts. Want to test me?" He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He couldn't tell if I was bluffing. I wasn't. Seeing him speechless gave me a flicker of satisfaction. The guards shoved me toward the exit, half pulling, half pushing. Outside, the neon lights fractured across the wet sidewalk as I stumbled forward into the night. "Don't come back," one of them barked behind me. I didn't need to. They understood now. Zane and Jenna both. I wasn't some doormat. From across the street, Kevin jogged over, eyes wide. "Jesus, Adrian. That was something else." I adjusted my shirt, trying to calm my breath. "He had it coming," I muttered. "Honestly, he's lucky I didn't go further." Kevin nodded slowly, cautious. "Let's get out of here before someone calls the cops." I slid into my car, heart still racing, mind spinning. The world as I knew it had turned on its head. Preston, once a friend I could count on, my wife, her old lover, and the gallery of vultures pretending to be friends, all showed up just to witness the spectacle of my undoing. Under the cold pulse of neon lights, I dug my phone from my coat and dialed Douglas Lima, the lawyer I always called when the gloves came off. If Jenna wanted to draw blood, she'd leave with nothing but bruises and regret. Douglas picked up after just one ring, steady and unshaken like always. I let everything spill out. The betrayal, the lies, tonight's humiliating public scene. He gave a slow whistle, low and knowing. "You've got a storm brewing inside, Adrian. Can't fault you for it. But let's fight smart. Let her bleed on paper, not out in public." My teeth ground together. "Go on?" "Excellent. We lock everything down. House, business, your holdings. She walks away with none of it." He paused. "Tell me, the house. You bought it before the marriage, right?" "Correct." "So it's your separate property, unless you screwed up on the deed?" I gave a dry, humorless laugh. "No mistakes. It's in my name and mine alone." "That's what I wanted to hear." He moved on. "Now, the company?" "Still under my father's ownership, legally speaking. I've always been set to inherit, but as far as the paperwork's concerned, I'm just a salaried manager. No official ownership." A hum of approval followed. That was a wise setup. "Oh, and just to be clear, I already froze the joint accounts. Drained them to zero. She won't find a penny." Douglas chuckled sharply. "Not leaving anything to chance, huh?" "She might push for alimony," he added. "Let her," I snapped. "Let a judge decide. I'm not giving her a damn thing unless it's court mandated. In that case, we're sitting pretty. Just keep your cool. I'll take it from here." As I ended the call, a brittle sense of control began to return, curling back in my chest like a slow breath after a punch. Back at the house, everything felt unnatural. The light too sharp, the air too still. A framed photo on the mantel caught my eye. Jenna and me, grinning at someone's wedding last year, blissfully ignorant. I stared at it until the emptiness inside hardened, then yanked it down and tossed it in the trash. I grabbed my phone again and scrolled until I found a name I hadn't seen in years, Jacob. We served together in the Marines, a no-nonsense guy who handled things without asking why. He picked up fast. "Adrian? Been a long time." "Yeah. I need you and the crew tonight. We're getting rid of everything that belongs to Jenna. He chuckled dryly. Still raising hell, huh? We'll be there in 30. He arrived with 3 other vets, all built like they were still active duty. No small talk. I led them straight to her closets and drawers, every trace she'd left behind. Bag it all. Put it on the porch. I don't want a single thread left inside. And if you feel like leaving a mark, go right ahead. Jose arched a brow. You sure, boss? Dead sure. Stomp it, burn it, I don't care. They got to work like a demolition crew. Doors flying open, hangers stripped, shoes crushed under boots. Her silk blouses, lace underwear, even her office suits, shredded or smashed without hesitation. Then Jose pulled something buried deep in the closet, her wedding dress, untouched and still glowing white. He held it up, turned to me. Want this handled any special way? I crossed my arms. Make sure it's never wearable again. With a wicked grin, he cracked open a beer and poured it down the bodice. Then, leaning in, he spat on the lace. Finally, as the others roared with laughter, he unzipped and pissed all over the gown. The smell hit fast, acrid and sharp, but I felt nothing. No guilt, no pause. When he bundled the drenched fabric with the rest, all I felt was a cold satisfaction. Soon after, the doorbell rang. For a second, I hoped it was Jenna, just in time to see what was left of her former life. But it was Victoria, her mother. She stood on the porch, elegant as ever, silver hair swept into a perfect twist, trying to hold on to that old sense of poise. Her gaze flicked from the mountain of boxes to my expression. Behind her lurked 2 familiar faces, Preston and Laura, the same snakes who'd circled me earlier. She opened her mouth to speak. Adrian, I cut her off, gesturing at her companions. You 2. These are Jenna's things. Either take them now or let the rain do its job. I don't give a damn. Preston looked ready to argue, but Laura tugged on his sleeve. Grumbling, they started loading the boxes. I stepped aside and allowed Victoria to enter. She moved like she was stepping into a war zone, eyes scanning the mess my team had left behind. I stood in silence, arms folded, my face carved from stone. What exactly do you want from me, Victoria? I asked, my tone sharp and controlled. Her face looked drawn, her shoulders slumped as if bearing a burden too heavy to speak of. I only want to talk, if you'll let me, she murmured. I gestured toward the couch but stayed on my feet. She lowered herself onto the cushions slowly, exhaling as if the weight of her thoughts had exhausted her. Adrian, please understand. I'm not here to justify what Jenna did, she started, her voice filled with regret. What she did was wrong, completely unjustifiable. She lied, she cheated, and she betrayed your trust. It was disgraceful. I didn't respond. The anger still seethed inside me, but I kept it contained. Victoria's voice dropped as her fingers nervously smoothed out a wrinkle in her jeans. She called me after you walked out of the club, said you went after Zane, that you humiliated him in front of everyone. She's calling it assault. I know, I said coolly, laced with sarcasm. He's welcome to file charges, but he won't. He knows I'll crush him in court. She lowered her gaze. Adrian, the real reason I'm here is, she's staying with him. She's filing for divorce, says you were controlling, that you didn't respect her growth or her independence. She had complaints, I interrupted, but she never brought them to me. If she felt trapped, she could have talked to you, asked for help, left the right way. Instead, she chose betrayal. I understand, Victoria said softly. I'm not trying to excuse her actions, she went on, but as her mother, I have to look ahead. If you take the most vengeful path, it'll destroy everyone involved. A harsh, humorless laugh escaped me. So you're asking me to make it easier for her? She shook her head gently. I'm asking you to look at the bigger picture. If she's really finished with this marriage, then let her go. Don't drag her down just to make her suffer. The fury roared in my chest. She already lit the match, I snapped. She burned everything we had. 5 years. Gone. She embarrassed me in front of the entire town. And now you want me to care about her well-being? Tears welled in Victoria's eyes. Then, to my surprise, she dropped to her knees in front of me. I stood frozen. I'd never seen her show this kind of vulnerability. "Please," she said, her voice breaking. "She's my child. I know what you're capable of when you're hurt. If you strip her of everything in this divorce, there'll be nothing left of her. She might have to come back to live with us, me and her father, but that would destroy her. She's been talking about drinking again. Says she'll spiral if you leave her with nothing. I'm afraid she's serious." I looked down at her, absorbing the desperation in her face. My bitterness made it difficult to feel compassion. "You want me to stop her from falling apart? That was her own doing. I'm begging you, don't add to her wreckage. Don't be the final blow," she whispered. After a pause, she raised her eyes to mine, rimmed with tears. "There's something else. Jenna. She's pregnant." Her words hit me like a blow to the chest. "Pregnant?" I growled. "That's not possible. She never told me." Victoria nodded, grief written across her features. "She found out not long ago. She didn't know how to tell you. Ever since Zane came back, she's been in pieces. She doesn't even know who the father is. It could be him, or you." A heavy pressure built in my chest. My thoughts raced. "She doesn't know who the father is?" I said sharply. "We'll get a test, eventually," Victoria said carefully. "But until then, Adrian, I'm asking you, don't finalize the divorce just yet. Let's find out the truth first." My head spun. The child could be mine, or it could be Zane's. And this same woman, who may be carrying my baby, had publicly humiliated me. I felt sick. But beneath the fury, something unexpected stirred in me. A faint, unwelcome flicker of concern, of responsibility. Then I smothered it. "The attorneys will handle it," I said coldly. "If it's my child, I'll do what's required by law. But the divorce moves forward. If the baby's his, he can deal with it." Victoria stood slowly, silent tears sliding down her cheeks. Her voice wavered. "You weren't always like this, Adrian." I met her gaze with a steady stare. "No, I wasn't." "And you know who taught me to stop being that man?" I added. "Your daughter did." She didn't say another word as she walked out the door. In the days that followed, the rumor mill exploded. Everyone had something to say about what happened at the Crystal Globe. Some said I'd nearly beaten Zane within an inch of his life. Others painted me as a hero, finally standing up for himself after being betrayed. Preston and Lara scrambled to control the damage, but I was done pretending. They lost my respect. More importantly for them, they lost access to my company's tech infrastructure. Their businesses descended into chaos overnight. I terminated every contract. Their systems, once securely housed on my servers, were erased without a trace. Despite repeated outreach, they eventually cut off all communication. Because I didn't shift gears quickly enough, vital accounting records, vendor lists, and client data were lost, vanished into the digital ether. Around the same time, word of Zane's extracurricular antics made its way back to his boss, Mr. Patel, who ran a mid-sized manufacturing operation thanks to a discreet tip I provided. No company wants the headache of legal entanglements or bad publicity. Zane was fired. No severance, no warning, no do-overs. The official story was performance issues, but we both knew the truth. Zane's downfall stemmed from Jenna's affair, and she didn't escape unscathed. Her reputation in the community tanked. When I served her divorce papers, they listed infidelity as the cause, backed by nightclub photos taken discreetly by Kevin. She couldn't deny it. The proof was inescapable. In the thick of the legal mess, another complication surfaced: Jenna's pregnancy. Her lawyer requested a delay, arguing that the child's paternity could affect the financial division. But my attorney, Douglas, stood his ground. The house was mine before we ever married. My role at my father's company was ceremonial at best, just a name on paper. She had no rightful claim to either the property or the business. If the child turned out to be mine, I'd take financial responsibility, but nothing more. The judge agreed with our side. A DNA test was ordered, but results couldn't be rushed. Jenna was still early in the pregnancy, only about 6 or 7 weeks along, so a definitive test had to wait. The judge, seeing through the delay, scheduled a follow-up hearing for after the birth to address custody or financial support. Meanwhile, the divorce proceeded. Since my reported earnings were strategically low, the court granted me spousal support. Jenna was ordered to pay $500 a month for 2 years or until I remarried. She lost her temper, claiming I had orchestrated everything from the start, married her only to flip the narrative and ruin her. I didn't react. When the judge signed off on the divorce, I felt free. But the aftermath wasn't over. Not long after the final court date, her mother showed up on my doorstep, distraught and angry. She claimed Zane had seen early lab results or caught wind of a rumor that the baby might not be his. He walked out, packed up and disappeared, unwilling to be deceived into fatherhood. Rumors said he left town altogether. Under intense stress, Jenna ended up hospitalized with fatigue and anxiety. Her mother, Victoria, pinned the blame on me. I told her bluntly, it wasn't my problem. She'd had a chance to avoid this disaster. She didn't take it. I focused on rebuilding. I brought home 2 German Shepherd pups, Tank and Scout, later renamed Titan and Luna. They became my sanctuary. Their loyalty replaced the sting of betrayal with quiet comfort. Eventually, I met someone new, Emily. We bonded over our love for dogs. She had a gorgeous German Shepherd named Rex, a goofy sweetheart who quickly befriended Titan and Luna. Things developed naturally. What started as chats at the dog park turned into long walks, then dinners. No drama, no mind games. One evening, she gently asked about my past. I gave her the essentials. She listened. No judgment, no probing. Our relationship moved forward at its own speed. Gradually, peace returned. Meanwhile, Preston and Lara's company unraveled. Their decision to let my contract expire cost them dearly. Multiple small businesses filed lawsuits after their data vanished when I revoked access to the servers. Their personal relationship crumbled under the financial pressure. Rumors spread that Lara had moved in with a family member. Jenna, meanwhile, went quiet, left to deal with her pregnancy on her own. I hoped that was the last I'd hear of it. The months rolled on. The divorce was final, and Jenna's betrayal faded into a manageable memory. I stopped keeping tabs on the pregnancy. I figured if the baby was mine, I'd be contacted. But no one reached out, so I let it be. One muggy summer night, after a late shift handling server maintenance at my dad's firm, I came home and handed out treats to Titan and Luna. The doorbell rang. It was nearly 10 p.m. A chill ran through me. No one shows up unannounced that late without a reason. Titan barked, on alert. I opened the door, ready to dismiss whoever it was, and froze. Jenna stood there, hair unkempt, bundled in a worn-out sweater, holding a baby wrapped in a thin blanket. The infant looked only a few weeks old. Jenna looked drained, face blotchy, lips chapped, eyes puffed from exhaustion. Titan growled again and stepped forward. I grabbed his collar to hold him back. "Please," she whispered, voice trembling. "Adrian, I need to talk." A heavy knot twisted in my chest. I kept my expression neutral. "What do you want?" She adjusted the baby in her arms, and that's when I really saw the child's face. The child's skin tone gave it away instantly. There was no way it belonged to Zane, and certainly not to me. My jaw clenched without thinking. She noticed where I was looking and let out a shaky breath. "It's someone from my job," she confessed, her voice a fragile murmur. "Someone else entirely. Not Zane. He's long gone. I have nothing, and the real dad vanished the moment things got complicated. Everything's falling apart. I'm alone. And now you show up?" My voice came out low and rigid, barely concealing my fury. "We're divorced, That baby has no connection to me. You made your bed. Lie in it." Her eyes welled with tears as she glared at me, anger flaring through the sadness. "I was desperate for someone to notice me," she snapped. "You were never really there, always buried in work, obsessed with your image, needing to be in control. I felt like a shadow in my own marriage. So yes, I made mistakes. I turned to someone else because I needed to feel something." Zane hadn't even been the father, just another name on a growing list of poor choices. Now she was adrift, jobless, abandoned, and left to raise a child by herself. "They fired me," she added, her voice trembling. "Too many absences." She paused, her body trembling like a leaf in the wind. "Preston and Lara? They cut ties with me. I'm completely alone. And whether you admit it or not, you were part of the unraveling. You never really saw me." She was shaking, and the baby whimpered softly. I felt a flicker of pity for the child, an innocent life tangled in the chaos. But as for her, she wanted me to shoulder the guilt, as if I'd driven her to betrayal, as if I'd forced her to carry another man's child. My expression hardened. She inhaled sharply. "You owe me, Adrian. If you had treated me like a partner instead of a nuisance, none of this would have happened. When you realized I was unhappy, you turned spiteful. You never gave us a chance to work things through. You just shut down." Tears streamed down her face. "I have nothing left. No roof, no money, and a baby I can barely take care of. And you're doing fine. I bet you've got a cozy place, your dogs, maybe even someone new. I know you have the means. All I'm asking is a little help. Just enough to get by," she said, her voice cracking under the weight of desperation. I stared at her, lips curling in contempt. The audacity. She'd hopped from one affair to another, never taking full accountability for the devastation she caused. Even after our split, she clung to Zane until that too unraveled. Now she stood here, cornered and pointing fingers. "You think I should clean up your mess?" I asked, my voice like ice. Every word was sharp and intentional. "Let's get one thing straight. This child isn't mine. If you need help, go to its father, or go apply for aid. You lost your job? That's on you. You made these choices, not me." Her eyes widened, as if she couldn't believe the coldness of it. Tears poured freely while the infant's cries grew louder. "After 5 years together, you'd really just walk away?" She choked. I looked down at the baby cradled in her arms. "Those 5 years ended the second you humiliated me in public. The lies, the cheating, the pregnancy, they're yours to carry. You built this life. Now live it." She hesitated by the doorway. "I've got nowhere left. My mother won't take me back unless I quit drinking, and I've started again. I can't stop. I'm falling apart, Adrian. You don't get it." Titan barked once, disturbed by the rising tension. The child's cries filled the thick, humid air seeping through the open door. My fingers tightened on the handle. "You're not stepping inside," I said, my voice frigid. "We're done." Her face twisted in agony, rage, and disbelief all at once. She looked like a ghost of the woman I had once loved, or thought I had. Her eyes burned as she spat her final venom. "You did this to me. You poisoned every relationship I had. You locked me out of everything and left me with nothing, and now you treat me like I'm dead to you. You're heartless, Adrian." I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "Maybe. But let's not pretend you're innocent. You were grinding on your ex in a club the night you asked for the divorce. You lied about whose baby that is. You jumped from one man to another like it was nothing, and now this kid shows up not even resembling anyone I know. Don't sit there and act like you're the victim." She opened her mouth, but only broken sobs came out. The baby's wails reached a fever pitch, echoing into the dark. Somewhere above us, birds scattered. Without saying more, I turned, stepped back into the house and slammed the door. Her stunned expression, eyes wide, baby clutched tight, was the last image I saw. Then came silence, broken only by the dull click of the latch. I stood there, chest heaving, Titan and Luna pacing anxiously behind me. Outside, I could still hear her muffled sobs, the soft thuds of her hands on the wood. But I didn't open the door. If anything, that moment was the first true line I'd ever drawn. Maybe it was cruelty, or maybe it was the closest thing to mercy I had left in me. Whatever she was looking for, she'd have to find it somewhere else. As far as I was concerned, her chapter had ended. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.